So I'll call to order the April 27th, 2026 Chelsea Planning Commission meeting. Before we get started though, just remind everybody that we have 3 public hearings tonight. And if you're here to speak on one of those hearings, please sign in. There's 3 sheets in the back to sign in for any of the public hearings that we're having tonight. First item is the invocation. Scott, you mind leading us in the invocation?
Absolutely. If you'll please join me in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this city, and just thank you for all that you do. Please help this group make the best decisions for its citizens, and just please be with us all. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Cody, you mind doing the pledge?
Stand and face flag. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we can call roll.
Cole Williams.
Here.
Lee McKinnon. Here. Jeff Russell.
Here.
Carlos Sanders.
Here.
Bert Sykes.
Here.
Cody Summers.
Here.
Scott Whitehead.
Present.
So we have a quorum. The first item is the approval of the minutes from the March 23rd, 2026 Planning Commission meeting. Any comments or questions related to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 23rd planning commission minutes.
Hearing a motion, do I hear a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. First item is the receiving of the Brasher Lane rezone request, case number 2026-0427-001RZ, submitted by Mr. Patel for property located at Brasher Lane, Chelsea, containing 1 lot and about 17 acres. Is currently zoned AR. The request will be to be rezoned to B2. So Keith, you want to give us the rundown?
Yes, sir. The applicant has the property, or it's my understanding that he has the property under contract and wishes to purchase it. He met with us informally, asked for some guidance on, what things might be needed in the city. He was leaning towards a commercial use in the front and then possibly another lesser retail use in the remainder of the property, perhaps office or something else that would be used in, or allowed in that B2 zoning. If you would look at the comprehensive plan, the 280 corridor is reserved for neighborhood and general business, so that seems to be in accordance with it. I believe I see the owners here, or the representatives for the owners that can answer any questions for you. Our recommendation on the staff end would be to accept or receive the zoning request and have the clerk set a public hearing at the next possible meeting.
Okay. And is Brasher public?
It is our understanding that it is. It's certainly used by more than one person there, so that would at least be a prescriptive rights of way. Now, as a development would come to the planning commission, if it were allowed to be rezoned, we would get into some of those issues as well. But it's our understanding it's a public road and maintained.
And there's residents that live beyond the project property?
Yes, that's correct.
Any questions for the owner, or any comments or questions from the board? Hold it for the public hearing. I mean, I think, but AlDOT would have an impact on it, AlDOT would have a,
Yes, sir. So if allowed, we would have our public hearing, then you would make a recommendation to the council. If it were allowed to be rezoned, then they would start the process of development. It would come back to the planning commission for a full development. It would be in the overlay because it borders Highway 280. That's where I think we would get into that use, what the use might be, and then what modifications and how that access would be allowed would be the purview of the Department of Transportation.
and it is adjacent to the, it's adjacent to the restaurants that are there now, right?
Yes, it is adjacent, but it's above, so there probably is not a good way to have any kind of access, but
the-
it's
the
very
use is
close.
adjacent.
Yes, it is use adjacent to there. And I believe that the corner is also a B2 zoning. So this would be in line with that, as well as your comprehensive plan.
All right. Well, I'll entertain a motion then, if there's no questions or comments for the owner, I'll entertain a motion to receive this rezone request.
I'll make a motion to receive the request and set a public hearing at the next date, possible date.
Hearing a motion, to hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, any comments before we vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So just get with the city clerk, and they'll set the public hearing at the next possible meeting. Okay, thank you. Next item is a public hearing for Mimosa Extension rezone request, case number 2026-0427-002RZ, submitted by Peter Kanakis, TDR Building LLC, for property located at the end of Mimosa Circle, Chelsea, Alabama. It's contained 14 lots, 14 and a half acres, zoned as AR. They are requesting a rezone to R2 and E1. Sorry. You want to give us the quick rundown? Keith? Yes.
Yes, sir, I'm happy to. So this is in the Windstone subdivision, is the majority of the property. The 14 lots, they've given you kind of just a real conceptual plan that would extend the current Mimosa Circle. During that time, when they stub out a road like that, is typically that we're gonna see development come back and finish that, so that certainly would go for this case. The lots would be all in the R2 size for the 14 lots. They would be of the same size and caliber of the lots in the Windstone subdivision, so it would be very similar. The builder who is making the request has built some in that subdivision and around Chelsea, and certainly gonna have the R1 type larger homes for that. There is a balance of some property that they could get up to 3 lots along County Road 36. If they did so, they would have to get with Shelby County and have driveways approved for those, but those would be in excess of 1 acre lots, if developable.
So is that the E1?
Correct.
So we're taking AR and then splitting it to some R2 and some E1?
That is the intent, yes, sir.
Okay.
The R2 lots would be the extension with the cul-de-sac, and then there's some acreage that is vacant right now along the county road.
Okay.
And those would be larger
This is
lots.
the property that was recently resurveyed and subdivided, so the lady sold off, I guess, this piece and was keeping the centerpiece, is that right?
Yes, there is one existing home on it that they would retain,
Yep.
and then the balance would be part of this development, but it's all kind of large wooded areas.
Do the public piece of it first,
Yeah, go ahead.
or you want to do the public, see if there's anybody that's, or you can, why don't you tell us a little bit from you're the developer?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then we'll open it up to the public.
Okay, yeah. What would you like to know? Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm Peter Kanakis. We've built several homes over in the Windstone area. We've built in Emerald Park. We've got a large development. We're about to open up roughly 90 lots in Lime Creek. We'll roughly have 100-foot lots, 150, 200 feet, 20,000 square feet roughly. The size of homes will be, again, 100-foot wide. 3,000-ish square feet, 2,500 to 3,500 square foot homes. Value will be around 650 to 800,000. That's where we'll sell single-family homes. And in keeping with the neighborhood, if you've been over, you've seen some work we've done. I think we've made our neighbors very happy with nice, new, fresh homes. And so that's what we intend to do if we get the zoning that we need. We do not own the land, but we're under contract to purchase the land if we can get the zoning that we need to build the homes.
Okay.
So we're in the beginning stages.
All right.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Keith, you want to get the list? Sure. So I have 5 names that signed up to speak. Debbie Carney.
And while we're beginning, just remind everybody, you get 5 minutes to speak. Our engineer is gonna keep a timer, so if he starts waving at you politely, that's your cue. And you're addressing this commission, and just as a reminder, we keep it civil here. We don't turn around and yell at the developers, and the developer will get a chance to come back and answer questions at the end, if you had questions that you asked in your statement.
Good evening, I'm Debbie Carney. My husband John and I live at 1460 Highway 36. We're the house that's in the middle of the proposed development. So we're the ones that purchased that carve-out back in December. It's interesting that it took us almost 3 years to find a property in the Birmingham area. We were following our grown daughter and moving from Georgia. So y'all will say we came to our senses, right, and moved from Georgia to Alabama. But we started looking in Chelsea and then ended up back in Chelsea and have found the community to be very welcoming. At the time the house was first listed, we weren't able to afford the entire property. So when it got carved out, we were able to buy that smaller piece. And it is our dream retirement home. And so nobody wants 14 homes to be built in their front yard, but we see the quality of the homes that developer has built in the neighborhood. And they are very nice homes, and it's adding a lot of value, I think, to the neighborhood. Our concerns are more about the construction activity and the impact to the pond, and then also for safety, because we understand that having a pond is both a privilege and a responsibility, and want to make sure that if houses are built that back up onto our land in sight of the pond, that we don't create an attractive nuisance or whatever it's called, where the neighborhood, is then attracted to that pond in a very detrimental way. It would just kill us if something happened to somebody in that pond. And so we would want to understand from the developer if anything can be done to fencing or things like that to help protect the neighbor's children from that pond. And then also understand during the construction activity to make sure there's plans to protect erosion and stormwater so that our pond is not negatively affected. It has a healthy ecosystem right now, and that's part of why we bought it. So my son-in-law will come fish, and we want to make sure that the pond continues to be healthy and we don't have detrimental erosion and stormwater issues as a result of any construction. All right, thank you.
Next is Mark Odom.
I've just prepared a statement I'd like to read. Good evening, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Mark Odom. My wife and I have lived in Chelsea since 2004 on River Birch Road, and we own property on Mimosa Circle that touches the parcel being discussed tonight. We chose Chelsea for its slower pace and rural character and small-town family-oriented feel. Both our children attended Chelsea schools for kindergarten through 12th grade and were involved in sports and extracurricular activities. Unfortunately, that small-town feel that drew us here is becoming harder to recognize. When we moved here to Chelsea in 2004, the population was about 4,400 residents. Today, based on the numbers I've found, it's about 18,000, and it continues to grow rapidly. Growth is expected, and I support responsible development, but not every piece of land should be converted to a medium-density housing. I'm here tonight to respectfully oppose the proposed rezoning of this parcel from AR to R2. On the letter that we were sent, it didn't say E1, so it just said AR to R2. So, more than just the land, like we've lived there for 22 years, and the previous owner, Mr. Shirley, allowed my son and I to fish in his pond. We explored his land that he had, and it's a beautiful piece of property. I understand that we need development here, but I don't think that every piece of property that we have should be used to bring in extra housing. So beyond the character, there's some real infrastructure concerns that I have for County Road 36 and County Road 39, also Highway 280. They're already under significant strain. Even smaller developments add cumulative pressure, and higher density zoning will only accelerate traffic congestion and impact our quality of life. Lastly, I'd like to close with this. Once land is rezoned and developed, it's gone for good. We don't get a second chance to preserve what made Chelsea special in the first place. I respectfully ask you to make a decision tonight that protects the long-term character of this community, not just short-term growth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Brett Weldon.
Brett Weldon, I'm 1661 Highway 36, directly across the street. Highway 36 was built as a two-lane road back in the day, 1960s, and then it got paved. It's basically a two-lane blacktop. During construction of our house, I had trail cams out there just taking pictures to see what was going on. I'm counting 1,200 cars per day. Doesn't sound like 280 numbers, but for a two-lane blacktop, that's a lot of cars. So far, since we've moved in, we've had at least 3 cars run off the road, have a wreck, not damaging, but basically through the yard, pulled themselves back up. I don't know if people are not paying attention, if they're on their phone, but they seem to be attracted to my yard. I've lost 2 mailboxes, I've lost garbage cans, you name it. I've had dead animals, hit and run out in the yard. It's just a lot of traffic. 14 more houses, even though it's coming off of Mimosa instead of off of 36, that's gonna just add to the traffic flow. That's already a lot more. The house next door I grew up in, I've been here since 1968. It's just a big change. And I don't think that road's capable of handling even more traffic than it's already getting. With the original Windstone development, my mother's house, 1539, the house next door, I've cut that grass my entire life. Never had a problem. A little creek runs down through a culvert under the road. Since that subdivision, I'm now out there, now that I moved back, I'm trying to repair the land because of all the sediment that's run through, filled up the land. I'm basically praying for a drought so I can cut the grass out there because of all the runoff that now comes in. And I can't prove it or anything. I wasn't living there when the subdivision was built, but it was completely dry before, and now it's gotten a lot wetter. So, like I said, can't prove anything or anything like that. Can't blame anybody. Mother Nature, whatever, it just kind of like takes its toll after the subdivision gets there. So I didn't prepare anything. This is off the cuff, and more people than I expect to speak in front of, but, like I said, I'm right across the street. I grew up there. I really don't want to look at 3 people's houses, the back of their yard every day, but I can't stop progress. I can't tell people what to do with their land. I can just say the main thing I can think of is that road's busy, and just putting more people in there and putting construction in there. I don't know when the last time it was paved, but with the construction that would come through, that's just going to tear up the road more and just make even more congestion. So if I didn't make any sense, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jerry Coffey.
My name is Jerry Coffey. I live at 133 River Birch Road in the Windstone West subdivision, and I have been there a resident since December of '04. My main concern is something that nobody else has brought up here this evening, and that is a situation that was very similar to this several years ago when during the construction phase, the water, the rain, the mud, and the silt coming off the hillside and the property that they want to rezone came right across my property. The property that they want to rezone is directly adjacent to my property in the back. And when they do the construction, all that rainwater, mud, and silt is going to come right up in my backyard. The very same scenario happened in 2021, where the exact same thing happened on the very same hillside. And my question is, exactly who does what to prevent that? And if it does happen, who's responsible for fixing it permanently? I don't want silt fences out there. I want a permanent fix to maintain the drainage to keep the mud and the silt off of my property. And that's all I want. I'm not necessarily against the development. I don't like it, but I knew when I moved here that someday, sooner or later, somebody was going to buy it and build on it. I personally knew Mr. Shirley, who owned that property from way back when. I worked with him for many years at IBM, and when he passed away, I knew it was going to happen pretty soon. And here it is, pretty soon, and it's happening. So I'm not here to voice complaints about not wanting the development. I don't want it, but I know it's going to happen. But my concern is the erosion, the water, the permanent fix, to keep that off of my property. And that's what I would like to know. Who does what specifically and when? And if it does happen, who fixes it and when and how? Thank you.
Next is Frank Strong, sorry.
Good evening, I'm Frank Strong. I live at 137 River Birch Road. I have been there for 20 years. We have wonderful neighbors. It's been wonderful being a part of the community and being a part of Chelsea. And before I wrote some notes, but I'd just like to say amen. And I know personally exactly what Mr. Coffey was talking about a moment ago. I have video, and my wife and I literally cried. I want to talk about something else, but we literally cried as we saw the mud sliding down that slope, the same slope that is proposed for building. And so I'm very concerned about it. But let me talk about something else. One of the things that attracted my wife and I to Chelsea 20 years ago, and I know progress changes. I know you may know the story of the little house, Virginia Lee Burton. If not, it's a wonderful classic, but progress happens, and but it was the pristine natural beauty that attracted me and my wife, and I know many, many, many others, to Chelsea. And I know Chelsea has grown, and a lot of the beauty remains, and I would just make a plea, just in general, and I know you are, that you consider that going forward in future endeavors to see what we can do about preserving the beauty of Chelsea. But the property that we're discussing is beautiful. I know it like the back of my hand. I've walked it many, 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 many times, and know all of those slopes and the ridge that runs across. And I know some of those trees personally. They've been there a long time. They've been there longer than me. Those hunting roads, and I recall seeing homemade hunting tree stands up in the trees on that property. And but my plea is that you would please, if this does happen, I would prefer that it didn't, but my plea is that if it does, that you please, and this is to the developer, that you please, please, please leave as many of those trees as possible. That's part of the character of this town, this city. And please, 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 if it does happen, please allow as much buffer as you can between any development that should possibly happen or may happen in the future between there and the houses that are on River Birch Road. A nice tree buffer would really go a long way towards softening the blow of having what will probably be potentially wonderful neighbors. But that would go a long way, I think, toward making it easier, to deal with the progress that looks like it's coming. So, again, I've spent many hours. What I plan to do when I get home is to go on my deck and look in that direction toward that property, because some of those trees back there, they're giants. They need to stay. And so please, please, please leave as much of the beauty as you can. One other point, the more trees that are left toward the bottom of that slope, the more it would do in preventing or deterring at least the erosion, the flow that would come down that mountain. Thank you.
Thank you. That's everyone on the list? Anyone else? Okay. You want to respond to the comments?
Do I face everyone or face you all?
You can talk to us.
Okay. Well, with all respect to everyone who spoke, I understand we want to bring value to the city. We do want to bring growth. They're both important, but you know, we have a responsibility. If we forget that these are folks' homes, that this is people's neighborhoods, then we don't need to do what we're doing in the first place. In terms of the erosion control, keeping everything safe and neat, it is our job to follow our best management practices. We do have silt fence that we have to put up during the construction, the wattles at the inlets. We've made mistakes before, but we've always been there to immediately clean up. So if we cause damage, we're not going anywhere. We've built many homes in the Chelsea area, the Pelham area. We've been building for 30-plus years, and taking care of people is what we do. We don't leave problems. We don't run from problems. We're going to follow all laws. Mr. Charles Wright, everyone who, the development rules, we're going to follow them. And when mistakes happen, and they do, we hope to minimize them. But we are responsible in taking care of anything that we can in a very timely manner. But, you know, we love Chelsea. Chelsea's good to us. The owner of my company has lived here, and his wife for generations. We value Chelsea. We're excited about the growth, but we want to grow responsibly. We want to put wider lot homes. We do want to save trees where we can. You know, if you've taken a look at what we've done over in the Lime Creek development, we're cutting a road in, but we're leaving a lot of the land. We're going to go in and clear home sites, but we're not mass grading. And from what I understand, and speaking to the owner of my company, that's what we intend to do here. We want to go cut the road in and find nice little home sites. But we love trees too. We don't want to knock everything down, but we do respect everyone's property, and we respect Chelsea, and we do like the slow growth, but we also want to help add rooftops to the community as well. They're both valuable, and we want to do it responsibly. So appreciate everyone's comments, and we want to be good neighbors. So thank you.
I guess for that, we'll close the public hearing. And if there's any questions or comments from the commission for the
Mr. Hager, he's our city engineer. Can you address drainage and what a developer has to go through and do as far as responsibility and planning and that sort of thing? So.
Yes, sir, happy to. So at the zoning phase, you're really questioning and talking about the size of those lots and what those sizes and how many lots could be placed. These are larger. On a side note, they're going to be served by septic tanks, so they really cannot go in there and clear cut or move a lot of the earth. It's going to follow the land. If allowed to proceed, they would come back with a preliminary plat and construction documents to this board. So we would hear that, and we would review everything that their engineers put forward, make sure they meet all the regulations of our construction guidelines. The erosion control, we would have a land disturbance permit through our new building department, but they would also be required to have ADEM permitting. So you've got kind of two-fold people watching after that. Certainly, we would field any complaints, and we would act accordingly. There's a set procedure to follow, and they have to have inspections and keep inspection logs that are available for us to look at, as well as ADEM. So we will keep a close eye on them, as we do with all developments.
Okay, and if a gully washer comes through and knocks down the silt fences and messes up Mr. Coffey's property, what happens then?
First thing, I would think that you would make a complaint to us or to ADEM, and we would file an incident report. We would get with the owner, and we would have him to repair anything. They're going to use perimeter controls, again, because of the nature of this development. there's gonna be some large buffers there just because of the way it's gonna be developed. So, we will ask them to keep as much buffer as humanly possible, and we'll keep those perimeter controls to minimize that chance, but in the chance that they do have an incident, they have 72 hours to file an incident report with ADEM and then to clean it up.
One question that came up that didn't get addressed was in relation to the sort of the protection from the pond. I know you're gonna build the individual homes, but again, you're street grading and not pad grading, so you're gonna leave the trees in the backyard as much as possible to create that buffer.
Yes, sir. Homeowners who would purchase would have the option to add fencing. A lot of times when we go to contract, that's one of the things.
this on a microphone.
Oh.
Yep, sorry.
And Commissioner, it'd be helpful if you got a little closer.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so regarding the pond, for some of the homes that, you know, we are going to keep a lot of the trees. We're clearing the home sites. I believe the nice lady had asked about fencing, attractive nuisance. You know, the pond, I can't speak to that legally, but, you know, when we do go to contract with a lot of our homeowners, they request fencing. That's kind of something that we would negotiate. We don't intend to fence around the pond. That's not something that we would typically do. But if it were a requirement, of course, we would follow the requirements. But again, we're not going to mass grade. There will be trees, but there is a pond, you know, and I believe in Windstone where we're building, we've got some ponds. We have 2 homes that are right on the ponds. So I understand everyone's concerned, but it is a part of nature. And, you know, that's.
But the pond is not on your property,
Okay, so.
right? It's on your property, right, so.
So I don't know what my responsibility would be there as a home builder. Always willing to listen, to help. Surely don't want to create problems for anyone, but
Any other questions from the commission?
thank you. And yes, ma'am, if you've got any, you let me know. Yes, ma'am.
What's that? Is there a question? Yes, sir.
Could I know, I forgot your name, my apologies.
No problem. Yes, sir.
You need to speak into the microphone, or otherwise it can't be
My apology, but
listened.
my specific question has to do, and I know you mentioned that the plan, the intent is to leave trees where possible. I would like to know if there will be a buffer, how much of a buffer, or will there be a buffer between River Birch Road and the houses that are being, could possibly be proposed? And if so, is it going to be one tree? Like, I've seen some of these houses have been built in our neighborhood, and there's still, a spackling of trees, but I would like to know if there's going to be a buffer.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to look at our concept real quick.
Just to be clear, it doesn't touch River Birch Road. It comes up to behind the houses that are on River Birch Road. Yeah, that's right.
That's right. So may I show the gentleman to see what his concern is?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, then I'll know where
right, sorry, we need to come back to, if you're, it's okay. You can have a discussion later if you want to.
Sorry, I really
Unfortunately,
can't.
we've got three other cases, two other cases.
Sure, no problem. I can't answer if there's going to be a buffer or
Right.
not. We're going to have to wait for those plans to be engineered.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the board? All right, so this is a rezone request, and we're just recommending or not recommending to the city council. So depending on the vote, it goes to city council, and then that's where the ordinance is actually voted on to move it forward by the council. So I guess, do I entertain a motion on this case?
I propose that we do send this to the council forward for rezoning or to be looked at. And this is my first time, so I'm not sure.
No, it sounds, so you recommend, or you make a motion to recommend to the city council
Yes.
the rezone request, okay? Hearing a motion, do I hear a second? Second, okay. All right, any other comment or questions from the board before we vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The rezone request has been recommended to the city council. Next case is the public hearing for High Point Properties rezone request, case number 2026-0427-003RZ, submitted by Connor Farmer, High Point Properties LLC, for property located at 18760 Essex Drive, Chelsea, Alabama. It's containing 20 lots and plus or minus 28 acres. It's currently zoned AR, and they're requesting it to be rezoned to R1. Keith, you want to give us a description?
Yes, sir. This was introduced and received at our last meeting. High Point Development is requesting larger lots in R1 zoning from AR to R1 for that parcel. The concept plan, which we have in your packet, shows approximately 20 residential lots that would be about 125 feet in width and close to 1 acre, but a few are a little smaller, which is allowable by the R1 zoning. The comprehensive plan shows it as a transitional or traditional development, residential development. And so it does appear to be in conformance with your comprehensive plan.
And Forest Park is R1?
Those lots are smaller. I believe that they would fall right at the R2, if not a little smaller than that. It may be a PUD.
Are they in the city of Chelsea? Part of it.
Part of them are.
All right,
I believe the owner has a representative here as well.
yes. Now,
Ma'am,
don't close the door.
yeah,
Good evening, Wes Davis with High Point Properties. Yes, so we're just proposing to rezone to R1, which allows for a 100-foot wide lot, but we're planning on doing, our layout has 125-foot minimum width on the lots. Trying to put the entrance close to 280, so we're not impacting a bunch of three roads and whatnot with traffic. And, but yeah, that's what we're trying to do, is that we also would adopt the regular neighborhood covenants to stay uniform with the surrounding properties as well, so.
It'd be a part of that HOA?
Yes, we would like to, or at least adopt the covenants and the restrictions so that the architectural style will be the same.
so that would adopt the same type, I guess, minimum square footage?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
Material types and everything?
That's right.
Okay. All right, well, we'll open the public hearing for now, and we'll see who is signed up for this, to speak. Okay. So first is Ms. Kim Brown. Again, with 5 minutes per person.
Please
Hi,
state your
my
name
name is
and
Kim
address.
Brown. I'm with the Homeowners Association for Forest Parks 280.
Okay.
I'm the president of the HOA. We haven't had any contact with the builder at all to understand exactly the plan that's set forth. The clerk did provide, the plan for us, so we appreciate that. It appears to be 20 lots. We're not sure, are there any guarantees that they're going to stay 20 lots forever? Could the plan change? Another concern that we have is that the traffic infrastructure there is very tight already. It's hard to get in and out of the neighborhood. You try to come out and take a left on 280, it's really hard. If we add more houses in there, we have one entrance in and out. Will there be an additional entrance coming in? Also, will there be a construction entrance? How would that impact our association if they started construction? We've also got concerns about the property. There's 7 properties that do touch those lots that they're talking about rezoning. And what kind of guarantees do the homeowners have for, if there's blasting? There's supposedly big rock structures out there and it's hard to dig in. What kind of guarantees do they have that it's not going to hurt their homes? Will there be any blasting? What kind of construction will happen? Will we have any guarantees that the final plan is going to stay? Could it be after you guys determine whether it gets rezoned or not and these 20 properties are given to you guys, could it possibly be rezoned, or not rezoned, but changed, the plans that are here? We're just respectfully asking if you could postpone the decision by a couple months to the July meeting that you guys have, so we could address these concerns with all of our neighborhood residents. As far as I know, the only ones that were notified were the 7, and then just kind of word of mouth out since they were notified. So we would like to get the whole community involved in the decision on if we're happy for it or if we're against it. And would like to invite the builder to come to our annual HOA meeting, which will take place here in the next 30 to 60 days, and that would be before before your July meeting. So we're asking if you guys could just hold off making a decision on the rezoning to R1. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is McKinnon.
Yeah, same concerns. I will just say that was a great description of my sentiments exactly. This vote is very premature. I've been through this. I'm very pro-development, actually, so I'm not like some of these others that have spoken. I'm pro-growth, pro-development. I like building stuff. This vote is totally premature. We've had no contact with the builder. There's been plenty of time for contact. I've been through this. I've had that same experience the last time. Not saying this is the intention at all, but the last time there was no intention to speak because they wanted to slip it through. They didn't want anybody to know about it. So there's been no contact. There's been no details. We don't know anything. Half our neighborhood's zoned for Chelsea, half of it's not. We need answers to how that affects if it's going to be in Chelsea limits, if it's not, if the ones that are unincorporated, if they're at risk for their property taxes doubling. I mean, this is before you even get to any of the site development. In my opinion, that site is a nightmare site. That's really why I'm against the property development. It's just not a good site to me. It's in a bad location. It is already very dangerous for people to get in and out of that neighborhood because we can't get a light. Those trucks come down that hill and we can't put a light in because the trucks can't stop twice. So there's no chance at a light there ever. And that's going to add more. I mean, somebody's going to get killed out there, the way it is. But this is just a bad site. It's going to come in on the left side. There's been no communication. There's just no way we can vote on this without answers to the property taxes, annexing. I mean, that's before property runoff, and everybody on Essex that has had all that behind them with the rock being blasted, and they're losing all of their privacy. There's going to be construction for years. We need everything in writing. We need to know exactly, guaranteed, what will be happening to the detail because it can get out of control. In fact, the experience I went through, I heard every promise in the book. We're going to stick to 20 sites in this case, blah, blah, blah. We did that with this builder before at our previous home. Everything changed after it rezoned, everything. And he resold, they got into financial trouble, resold the property immediately because the value went up when it was rezoned, and then it just ruined everybody's property values. There were no guarantees. What I learned from that is they said you need the site plan to be binded. Everything needs to be written down and discussed with the HOA and existing neighborhood before it is voted on, before it's rezoned. You lose a lot of control once it's rezoned. So, and also the visuals too for 280. Chelsea's beautiful. We moved into Chelsea recently. And that drive-through there is beautiful, and seeing all that construction coming in and out for years is going to be terrible. Those big old trucks coming in and out of that entrance is going to be a nightmare, more so on this development than anywhere else. That's my point. Again, I'm pro-development, but this is not a good spot for it. And that's why nobody's tried to do this there in the past, and that's why it stayed ag, because it's not a great site. And I appreciate the 20 homes. That's much better than, 1 million properties, but we just need it guaranteed. We need details, communication. It's just a premature vote. And as far as I know, I saw 15 people in our group today that I connected with, and 13 of the 15 were against it. But their comments weren't anti-development. It was, this is way premature. We need details. We need the builder to reach out to us and get some information. And that would go for the city council too. Y'all need information. Y'all can't vote on this without it because of this particular site. In my opinion, that's the way I feel about it. So it can go sideways fast once it gets rezoned. I ask you to just delay it, let us get in, and we can talk to the developer now that he's here, and we'll meet outside of this, discuss the details, come back, and then we can have a rezoning meeting on the information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Mr. Patel. Signed up for the wrong meeting, okay. And then looks like that one scratched out, right? Brandon Haygood.
Hey, good evening. My name is Brandon Haygood, and my family and I live at 153 Essex Drive in Forest Parks 280, which directly backs up to the proposed development. Ideally, we would like to keep things as is, but I know that's not always the most practical outcome. The gentleman that spoke prior, he brought up a number of points, and I'm leaning more to what he said. I just don't believe enough time has been spent investigating and understanding what's going to happen. Some of my main concerns are obviously the privacy and the buffering. There's quite a bit of woods back there. Those 7 houses that back up to that property have been used to woods, and it would be great to keep some buffering there, evergreens, landscaping, some sort of tree preservation to help maintain some level of privacy. Again, the construction impacts, it's going to be a construction zone for quite a while. So having some sort of time window where construction's allowed to keep the noise down as much as possible and interruptions during that time. The traffic safety, this is probably my biggest concern. Very, very busy intersection. And if this is something that is going to move forward, I'm going to recommend that we have a full traffic impact study that's conducted by a third-party, unbiased firm that's not affiliated with the city or the potential developer, that specifically addresses the Essex Drive and 280 intersection to see if, what needs to be improved, such as turns, lanes, and anything like that, final to the plat approval. Fourth, as the previous gentleman mentioned, is the blasting. There's a ton of rock back there. There's huge limestone boulders. I know my house has already had quite a bit of settling, as well as some of our neighbors. And we want to make sure that, the vibrations doesn't worsen the existing issue. So I request a mandatory pre-blast survey for all adjacent homes at no cost to the residents. and obviously advance notification of the blasting and vibration monitoring to protect pre-stressed structures and older foundations. And then fifth is the schools and the property value. Many homes along the Forest Parks 280 are currently zoned for Oak Mountain School System. This happened recently a couple of years ago, which hasn't helped increase the property values. We're concerned that approving this rezoning and adding more homes could contribute to overcrowding in the Oak Mountain schools and lead to our area being rezoned Chelsea school systems in the future. So I ask that a potential impact on school capacity and any future rezoning of school attendance zones be carefully studied before approval. And as previously mentioned, please, on condition of approval, we would like to say that there's no more than 20 lots with the final subdivision plat substantially conforming to the conceptual plan that was initially presented, included the 125-foot minimum lot width. We certainly value responsible growth in Chelsea, but these conditions are needed to minimize impact on long-term residents who have been already invested here and call this neighborhood home. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jason and Stacy Carmack.
My name is Jason Carmack. I live on Essex Drive. I won't speak long. I want to reiterate what Brandon said. Those are, I think, everybody's concerns. Me and my wife have lived in Chelsea. She's lived in Chelsea a lot longer than I have. I have about 20 years. We've had 2 graduate from high school. We have 2 in the high school right now, so we're very invested in the community. But I guess my main concern, one of them is the, obviously the intersection with 280. I think a lowball educated estimate would be probably about 600 cars in that neighborhood have to leave every day and then come back. And the traffic control is not very good. It's a very dangerous intersection as it is, and to add more volume to that traffic without improvements to the intersection, which I understand is probably not within the control of Chelsea City Council, is worrisome. Also, living on Essex, I'm concerned about the blasting and would really want a pre-blasting survey and a post-survey at no cost to the owners, the residents, and any damage to be fixed. But you know, this is a very base analogy, but if you have a car and it's wrecked, you can have it fixed and it looks as good as new, but we all know that the value is not the same. The structural integrity many times is not the same. So how much more so would that be if you talk about it in terms of home? If the blasting happens and we have damage to our home, it can be fixed, but the value is not the same, not in my mind, and the structural integrity is probably not the same. And I know none of you sitting at that bench or behind that table would want anything like that to happen to your home. And so I guess that's what I'm asking for, is that we get the same consideration that you would want somebody to give you if it were in somebody else's hands. And again, very succinctly put, thank you, Brandon, and really, Chelsea was the first. I'm from out of state. I moved here when me and my wife got married over 20 years ago. Chelsea's the first place that I've ever lived since leaving my parents' home, that I've ever felt at home. So Chelsea is a big deal to me. And I just want to know, in the broader scheme, that there's a plan, that we're not just throwing up businesses, we're not just throwing up houses, that in the end it's not going to look like Highway 31 in Pelham or Alabaster. I want there to be a vision. I want there to be a plan. I want there to be something special for Chelsea, because it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same as when I first moved here. And I guess I just want to make sure that we're mindful of that with anything going forward. So anyway, thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Next is Katina Buff.
Hey, and good evening, and I'd like to reiterate that I agree with everything our neighbors thus far have said. We really do have a tight-knit neighborhood. We know our neighbors, we love our neighbors, we know their kids, they play in our yard. It's just a great atmosphere. So I'm Katina Buff, my husband Joseph and I, we live in Forest Parks 280 on 205 Essex Drive. He's not here tonight because he's cutting our grass to make it meticulous. It's a competition. If you don't know about it, check out the neighbors' yards. I want to reiterate and focus on a few concerns that I have. If you've ever tried to exit Essex Drive and go across 280 to come into Chelsea, you know what I'm about to tell you. Try doing that with a 15 or 16-year-old trying to get to school. It's a nightmare. And we have no way to make it better, according to what we've been told. That's just unacceptable to add more traffic to what's already a very dangerous situation. Plus, we have children getting on the bus as early as 6:26, maybe even earlier on other roads. So now we're going to add more stops, and we're going to increase the time that our children have to get on the bus and delay the time that they're going to get home from school, which is right now after 4:05 in the evening. Everything that they've already said, I'm not going to say again, but I'm just going to let you know that I do agree with it. The size and the quantity of the homes definitely is a concern as a homeowner, to not know if your home value is going to increase or decrease just by somebody making a profit off of building new development. So definitely, we need a plan. We need to know what that looks like, and we need to have time as a neighborhood to back the developer that wants to go there, because I think if we could see the benefit and the value in it, I think our neighborhood would probably be for it. But right now, we're just extremely uninformed. And that lack of clarity, it just makes it difficult for us as residents to feel confident in any decision that could be made. So I 100% agree with the delay. I don't think that growth should come at the expense of our children, our children's safety. A lot of times the kids are getting on the bus so early and it's really dark. You can't see them walking up the road to the bus stop. And I think that should be a consideration when we're talking about adding more bus stops and adding more cars on the road that the bus stop crosses. So definitely some studies, thorough studies about bus routing, about the traffic flow, about the capacity of the schools, and the intersection safety. I'm sorry I'm not an eloquent speaker, but those are my concerns, and I appreciate you listening.
Thank you. Next on the list is Pozar.
Yeah, Lumila Pozar, she's our neighbor
Okay.
at 149 Essex Drive. She's actually traveling abroad
Okay.
and wrote this letter. I believe she delivered it or emailed it to Ms. Etheridge on the 1st of April, but she's asked that I stand in and communicate what she wants to say. Per Ludmila, I am strongly opposed to the rezoning. Unfortunately, I'll be abroad when the hearing takes place. Therefore, I delegate my vote to my neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Robert and Roxanne Drake, and Mr. and Mrs. Brandon and Brittany Higgett. Reasons for my vote against the rezoning are as follows. This is the second rezoning request from Mr. Farmer. The first hearing was already held in the beginning of 2020. Mr. Farmer was unable to support his claims that the rezoning would not affect property values, well-being, and safety of the homeowners of the HOA at 280 Forest Parks. Thus, he was denied his request already. Such rezoning violates numerous laws concerning conservation of Alabama's natural resources and preservation of health and wealth of the HOA members living in the immediate vicinity of the forest under consideration. Moreover, a small LLC such as that represented by Mr. Farmer is financially incapable to install a modern transport and utility infrastructure for our neighborhood to compensate for the loss of use of its existing roads, sewers, water supply, pipelines, and power system. Specifically, Essex Drive does not belong to the city of Chelsea. It belongs to the city of Sterrett. Therefore, the requested rezoning will include changing our affiliation from Sterrett to Chelsea, leading to increased taxes. Again, High Point LLC will not be able to compensate us for such tax increases year by year. All HOA members use the forest for recreation. There is no other recreation forest available for homeowners of Essex Drive and neighboring streets in the immediate vicinity of their streets. Property values of the homes of the HOA members will decline 30 to 50% after such rezoning. These numbers were suggested by my realtor during the first rezoning attempt. A small LLC, such as that represented by Mr. Farmer, is financially incapable of reimbursing loss of value for our property despite possible promises to do so. The use of the infrastructure of the HOA by large added community will result in a much larger load on the sewer, water supply, and roads from our HOA, leading to increased wear on our community infrastructure. The corresponding maintenance expenses will be loaded onto the homeowners, and therefore the HOA duties will increase. The request is in violation of the state and federal fire safety laws, ordinances, and instructions. In particular, the only exit entrance to HOA neighborhood is already heavily loaded by all traffic going through that entrance. Any gem of that entrance in an emergency such as a forest fire will lead in potential loss of human life and property. This request is in violation of state and federal laws and regulations concerning noise level and air quality in residential areas. The forest protects our neighborhood from heavy 24/7 notice and smog from the overloaded traffic on Highway 280. I hope you can see now that the request of Mr. Farmer is impossible to grant without significantly damaging the environment, property values, and living standards of homeowners of HOA 280 Forest Park. Sincerely, Ludmila A. Poser. Thank you.
I think that's the end of our list. Anyone else? Okay. So could you respond to some of those questions and concerns?
Yeah, I think one of the big concerns is about the blasting, and I can just say that we have done like eight or nine preliminary test pits along the road section. I think 7 of those came back anywhere from 6 to 8 feet deep before you hit rock. There was one spot where it was 2 to 3 feet. It's a small portion. The road will actually be a fill on that area. There will maybe be some maybe rock hammering when the water line is put in. Some of the utilities may require some of that. Don't foresee any blasting having to take place on this. Most of the home sites will be slab homes, so we're not going to be digging basements, and I think there's maybe only 3 or 4 that would be a basement lot out of the 20. So that's not going to be a big issue either as far as where the homes go and having to get through rock to get those in and with no basements. The 7 lots that back up to us are all, I think, 100-foot wide lots, so these would actually be bigger lots. We're going to be doing all of the septic, primary and secondary will be in the rear of the lots, so you'll have a lot of trees left at the back of each lot in between the other homes as well. Yeah, so I think that was the main concerns. I'm not sure about the project, which is, those numbers have already been run, and we absolutely can do that, so I believe that was most of the concerns. My partner did reach out to the HOA president via Facebook Messenger. We haven't heard back whether he was in the right spot with that or not. I'm not sure, but we would definitely want to correspond with them and be great neighbors, and like I said, adopt their same covenants and make this property as well, if not better than what's there now, so.
Any questions from the board?
You said there's no blasting.
I said we don't receive any right now, no, not from the test pits that we've done along the roadway.
Unfortunately, you gotta talk through the mic.
We do not perceive any blasting having to take place to put in the roadway. The only area that was shallow, which was 2 to 3 feet, was just a small portion of that area.
But you said it was receiving fill.
That's right, on that roadway, yes.
Okay, and If it did somehow require blasting, what would happen? What would the process be?
I'm not real sure. I guess we would have to get with engineers, and that's what we have engineers for, to kind of guide us through those situations. But if it did happen, I would imagine it would only be in areas where utilities would have to go in for small, ditch line portions, being that the roadway does not look like it's going to be impacted by it. And like, again, all the homes, most of the homes are going to be on slabs, on grade. So,
And would you address where people are crossing the Sterrett and Chelsea city limits?
I'm not familiar with that. I'm not sure about that.
I'll take that one. There's no such thing as the city of Sterrett. So Sterrett is just a post office, and that's where your mail comes from. This piece of property that we're talking about is in the city limits of Chelsea.
All city of Chelsea.
Yeah, it would have a zip code of 3. I'm not talking about the whole
The
neighborhood.
parcels
That piece
This
is
part.
this will be zoned for Chelsea.
It's already zoned,
It's
it's
in the
already zoned
city-
for Chelsea City.
There is no city taxes.
There is no city tax in Chelsea.
taxes remain the same.
You're right.
Correct.
No, South Chelsea doesn't have any property taxes.
But yeah, if you go to the GIS, that whole piece of property that they're looking at is already city of Chelsea.
And what's the school system then? Because Maps Oak
So Mountain,
the new ones will be Oak Mountain, but they'll be in Chelsea.
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, the
It's a
Chelsea
county
doesn't
school
have its own school system, so it relies upon the county to provide the school system, and the county itself draws those limits, not the city.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. My name is Eric Garrett. I live.
Yeah, but you'd have to come speak, sir.
Some questions I had. I know the HOA president made a very valid concern that, there's been no
Your
contact.
name and address, if you don't mind?
Okay, it's Eric Garrett, 199 Essex.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. The HOA president said, this is kind of, come up kind of quick, that nobody's had any real contact. And I feel much to that dismay. I just found out about this a couple of weeks ago, that this is coming up. And so I just felt that I would, make my presence known. One question you had, with regards to Sterrett and Chelsea, we're in unincorporated North Shelby County. The Sterrett Chelsea issue came up because of mail handling. The mail couldn't be handled in the Chelsea post office, so they moved it to Sterrett, okay? Some concerns that I have are very valid. Some of the concerns have already been addressed. As far as traffic getting in and out of the subdivision, it's a bear, okay? I wouldn't want to put that on you, any one of you all, to have to go through that. They've got to do something, AlDOT has got to do something with regards to the merging lanes and so forth out there. It's just, it's tough. One concern I had also, with regards to the roads coming in and out of the subdivision, you put heavy trucks in there, those roads are gonna get destroyed. So no one's addressed how that's gonna be taken care of. Are you all gonna take care of that now? Or is that gonna be on the HOA?
He can respond to you when you get done, so he can
Okay.
have the mic back.
All right.
Thank you.
But those are just some of the concerns that I had with regards to the traffic, one, to the infrastructure that's there, and going through some other issues with regards to the mailing and so forth and so on. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, I would say that we would be happy to not only adopt the covenants of the HOA, but we could take these lots into the HOA if the HOA is so pleased, and that way there would be 20 more homes paying dues. I think it's like 200 feet of road once you turn off of 280 before you would go into the new road. So if there is any damage, those dues would help cover that, of course. And if there's significant damage that is obviously something that we did, whether it's on the property we're working or somewhere else, we're going to take care of that and remediate any issues that need to be remediated.
Having the HOA pay for damage is totally unacceptable. And
Yeah.
also, I've heard a lot of I don't knows to pretty much every question asked. We have got to know, y'all have got to know. I don't know is unacceptable. And he's also said that he's more than willing to talk to the HOA. Call us, let's do this. So we'll delay it. We'll talk to the HOA. It'd be perfect. Everybody's more than willing. Thank you.
And I think, I had a thought. And it went away. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I will say from a city standpoint, if, in any development, when the roads are coming in and out, if they get torn up, that's on the developer, and our engineering team monitors that. And if something gets torn up, then they have to come, the developer and the construction company have to come out and fix it. It wouldn't fall on your HOA, and it wouldn't fall on the city or the county. Like, that would fall on whoever's doing the construction. So-
Yeah, absolutely. And if that got construed, I'm sorry. I mean that we would take the lots into the HOA to add extra dues if they want it, not to cover any damage that we may or may not do. I didn't mean it that way. We would, like I said, we would remediate any issues that may come up that were in our fault. So, sorry to clarify that.
And one other question that came up was brought up a couple of times in the beginning was the 20 lots and things changing post-zoning. This request is for 20 lots. So if that 20 lot was to change, it would have to come back to the zoning effort if it was a term, if it was a condition to the approval.
If it was a condition to the approval, yes, but they're asking for a straight R1 zoning, and the minimum for the R1 is 20,000 square feet and 100. They've actually presented to you a little bit larger than that based on their layout. So that could be conditioned upon substantial conformance with the conceptual design.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll close the public hearing. So I think we're good there. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
I'd just like to say, as everybody's concerns about the traffic at the entrance, I agree with you 100%. That's probably one of the scariest entrances on the 280 in our city.
So do we want to, well, hearing no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to,
I'd like to make a motion to table this for 1 month and let them get with the HOA and present whatever it is, so they could be more familiar with it.
yeah. Hearing a motion, do I hear a second? Second. So, before we vote, so what the motion on the floor is that you meet with, before we come back to this commission again, you and your team meet with the HOA as a whole, present the houses that you're trying to build, present just what you did today, but to the HOA as a whole, and then come up with a way that you can work together with them so that they're willing to, because right now, you're presenting that you will like to be part of the HOA, but we haven't asked them that you could be a part of it. They may not want that, so, just to give them some security there. So, we have a motion and a second to delay for 1 month. That won't be another public hearing, though, will it not? And so, but you will need to come back with the HOA and present the findings from your meetings. Sure. Any other questions or comments from the board? So having a motion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So we'll see you next month. And try to, I think the lady, that's the lady you need to coordinate with right there. All right, thank you. All right. Next case is a public hearing for Pine Ridge rezone request, case number 2026-04 27004RZ, submitted by Richard Yeager of YP Chelsea LLC for property located at 11880 Highway 11, Chelsea, Alabama. It's containing 58 lots and plus or minus 33.45 acres and is zoned AR. They are requesting it be rezoned to R2. Keith, you want to give us a quick rundown before we open the public hearing?
Yes, sir. That's a good description of the project. They're requesting an R2 zoning. If you'll recall, several years ago, there was a little bit higher density.
Hold on, Mr. Engineer, can you, hey, Wayne? Thank you. We're gonna hold on until that clears out and we can hear. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. It was, I believe, about 119 lots originally. For many reasons, it was not able to move forward, and ultimately, it was reverted back to the original zoning of AR. The new proposal would go to a straight R2 zoning. That would be a minimum of 75-foot lot width and 15,000 square foot minimum. And they've given you a conceptual plan, certainly that is less dense, based on topography and other items that their engineers have worked on. I believe the owners are here and have some presentation for you.
Okay.
But we can make any other comments or answer any questions.
Okay. You want to do your presentation and then we'll open the public hearing?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. That's
Thank
perfect.
you.
Thank you.
So, apologies, there is one typo. It's 58 homes, not 53, but Keith is correct. Originally, there were 119 homes approved on this property, and the zoning did lapse, I think, in 2025. And so we weren't affiliated with that, but anyway, we're requesting a R2 zoning, which is a 75-foot wide lot, 15,000 square foot minimum. This density is approximately 50% less than what was approved on this site before. And we're proposing larger lots with bigger homes. Next slide. Who has the? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. So the prior approved plan was a higher density zone. The average lot size was 65 by 95, and there were 119, as I already stated. This zoning would be briefly R2, 15,000 square foot lots, so roughly double the size of what was approved before. 75-foot wide minimums. Some of them go as wide as 100 feet in areas. The setbacks would be 8 side yard setbacks with 18 total feet between structures, 25 front and rear yard setbacks. The average home size would be approximately 3,500 square feet, and the average price of the new home would be approximately $550,000. And then these are just some renderings that we brought just to show what the product will look like. There's 3 of them. And then just a brief information on the builder. That's a privately held builder. They build in Georgia, Alabama, and Florida currently. They build in the markets of Atlanta, Birmingham, Huntsville, down in Baldwin County and Gulf Shores, and over in Bay County in Panama City Beach. And they're excited about the opportunity to expand into Chelsea. So that's the presentation. There's also a streetscape. I think if you press within the black box, you can play a short video. Yeah, just kind of giving you a overall feel of the streetscape and what the homes would look like, and that is that's it. That's the presentation. So thank you.
Thank you. Let me get the list. So we'll open up the public hearing on this case.
Good evening. Melissa Dodson, my husband Kerry, and I live at 147 Brindley Drive, so our subdivision backs up to where this proposed development is in Brindley Estates. We've gone through this several times with other developers trying to develop that lot. It's very wet on one side of it, which is the backside of our lot. Previously, with other developers, we had agreed to us having, well, actually, the 2 owners, us and the one next to us, having a 60-foot setback, which would be untouched green space to preserve that wetland, to give us some privacy and just some privacy back there to kind of keep that. One, I just want to make sure that we can continue to have that privacy and that setback so that we can keep our tree line and, you know, like everybody else has said with all these other developments, I don't want to go out on my screen porch that we spent too much money on several years ago to look at somebody else's house. That's why we bought this lot. It backed up to the quote mountain. It's really a big hill. But there's always been a lot of privacy, and we want to maintain that privacy. I'm in real estate. My husband's a real estate agent. We have no problem with development. We are in development. We understand it, not trying to stop it, just trying to ask that we can maintain some privacy back there. And the first slide that they showed with that plat is different than the one that I saw online. So I do have a question about that. I talked to Matthew today. Yeah, no, go back to the other one. So the one that I have does not show these bottom two lots. Can I walk over and point
Sure.
those? Yeah, because it's kind of hard to see.
Is there one that's blown up a little bit, or is that the best? Yeah.
They're not that great. Okay, see, it was my bad eyes. So is this big corner, piece right here on that corner, that's backs up to our house and several of the other lots. And that's the area that we would like to maintain, the privacy in. And when I talked to Matthew, I don't think it's gonna be a problem because it's very low and very wet back there, so that would be expensive.
You're correct, though, that one is different than what we have in the packet.
It's hard to see.
So which one is correct? Is that correct, or is the packet correct?
Well, what I'm looking at, Matthew, if you want to help.
This is what's in the packet.
Okay, it just looks different up there. Is this
Yes,
correct?
that has a
Okay.
residential lot in the corner.
Okay.
This is a lot, but this is not shown as a lot on this one. It's not numbered.
Oh, gotcha.
I know that this looks like a lot, but it's not, it's common.
Right, this one right here.
That's not, that's common area.
Okay. And on there, it looks numbered, but I can't tell.
It's not, it just says.
Okay,
Yeah, that's why it looked different.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot on there.
but it's not a lot.
Okay. Because there is that common area, and then they were proposing building two homes, these two.
And that's still there.
And that's still there, okay. It just looks different up there on that slide. It did look like a lot. So if we could, clearly want to maintain that, if at all possible, it would be, better for us and the few houses that we have next to us if those two random houses maybe could not be there, because that whole area is wet. And those two homes that are lots that are proposed, they are higher. So my lot and the one next to us, but specifically ours, is the lowest part of the neighborhood. And any runoff from those higher lots to our right is going to come straight down to us. So like I said, I don't have a problem with the development. I'm just concerned about it's already so wet and low, and we want to maintain that privacy and not get all that runoff. I do have another question, because it's been in, previous developers that have gone in there. That, we have a blind hill right there at County Road 377. It's very blind, and notoriously, there are 2 or 3 high school students that have wrecks every year. You top that hill, they're speeding, they can't see what's on the other side of it, traffic is backed up. And if they put that access point to the neighborhood right there on the other side of that hill, it's gonna be a huge problem. So my question is, where's the access point gonna be, and how are we gonna navigate all of that extra traffic right there when we already have an accident problem that's continual? I know getting out of Brindley, for us, it is a nightmare. Well, we just avoid it during school hours. When they're going to school in the morning, when they're coming home, you cannot make a left-hand turn. Not gonna happen, not without endangering your life. So I think the traffic would be I would worry about all the high school students, because they're already struggling with that blind hill. And that's really the only issues that I had. I just want to maintain that space. I want to know what we're going to do about traffic to maybe mitigate that issue with that blind hill. I don't know if that's the place to put a traffic light, how that would work. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Would you like to respond?
Is she the only one speaking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she was the only one speaking. That was the only, unless there's anyone else that wants to speak on behalf.
I wouldn't mind. I just have a couple of questions. I live on 159 Brindley Drive.
And your name is?
John Sism, SCISM. And everything in Brindley Estates is an estate lot. Everything I see here on this development is elbow-to-elbow houses, and I don't know anywhere that you can get a 3,500 square foot house for $550,000. That's that's ridiculous to have that estimate. So I don't know what they're building, what it's gonna look like, but to me, it looks like a huge garden home community that's squeezing in as many houses as they possibly can, based on their graphics. And I wonder about the septic, how they're gonna handle that. Is that something that's gonna generate, those lots are not big enough to probably put their own septic system in their yard, so what are they gonna do with that? And is that gonna lead to possible odors, issues, environmental stuff? And all of our lots on Brindley Estates we bought because they're wooded backed. And I know we don't have control of someone else's property, you're not guaranteed to have that forever. But is there a chance that they could do those setbacks, maybe 30 or 40 feet from the property line, so that we don't have a garden home rear end 20 feet from our property line? The whole reason we bought there was because there was an illusion, I guess, to some extent of privacy behind us. So if the developer would put a 50-foot, natural space or something in there, versus, the elbow-to-elbow houses right behind us within 25 feet, that would be more comforting. But those are the concerns I have, is septic, and is there a way to create a buffer zone between neighborhoods, since they are not an estate community where Brindley Estates are large, wide lots. There's no elbow-to-elbow houses like what this is gonna be.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but
Your
my
name
name is
and
Lee
address,
Friedman.
Thank you.
I live at 2087 Lindsay Lane. I think some of the speakers tonight have been very eloquent about the way they envision the way the history of Chelsea should be. And they've made really good points. It's not that I am anti-growth, but I am pro-smart growth. Already, there's another subdivision that's potentially could take effect with 158 homes. You add another 58, it's 216 homes, probably between 400 and 500 more cars. And for those who have traveled Highway 11, it can be a nightmare, especially with the high school, and some people have already mentioned these high school kids. God bless them. I was the school administrator, so I have a special place in my heart for them. But I think that we need to look at what is going to happen. Do we want Highway 11 in Chelsea to look like Highway 11 in Pelham? As you go toward Pelham and you look to the left, I don't think that's what we want. So I just ask for real thought and prayer about what we want for the city of Chelsea. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll close the public hearing if you want to come back up and address the comments that we have.
Yes, thank you. So to the gentleman's point, I think before, when it was 119 lots, it was a high-density neighborhood. We've cut that by over 55%, roughly. And the lots have to be 15,000 square feet by law, by the R2 zoning. So that means if it's 75 feet wide, it has to be 200 feet deep, which is roughly a third of an acre. And I kind of looked at the Brindley estate lot sizes that back up to this, and they're about half an acre. So we're not talking a 5,000 square foot lot next to a 20,000 square foot lot. We're talking about a 15,000 square foot lot potentially backing up to a 20,000 square foot lot. It's not a huge difference, a third of an acre to a half an acre. And as development goes, the developer doesn't want to clear any more than he has to just because of money. So if the lot is 200 feet deep, typically, a house is going to be, roughly 50 by 70, the building pad, and then you've got the setback, so that's another 25 feet. The right-of-way, that's another 11 and a half feet. So roughly, you're going to clear about 100 feet back, which would leave a nice buffer for a lot of these neighbors. There's only about 5 lots from Brindley Estates that back up to it. And to the lady's point, it happens to be at one of the worst spots on the property because it's very low back there. And so, again, by law, by federal law, we cannot just go through a wetland or a stream and disturb it because we want to. We have to go get a U.S. Army Corps of Engineer permit, which is very time-consuming and costly, so we avoid them at all cost if we can. And so those are things that are going to naturally protect the property. We can't go do it even if we wanted to. As far as traffic, I understand it's a major concern in Chelsea on 280 and on Highway 11. That being said, again, by law, before we can ever go and get a land disturbance permit, we have to go to John Slaughter at Shelby County and say, here's what we're proposing to do. What do we have to do in order to tie on to your road, Mr. Slaughter? And he's going to say, you have to get a traffic study. You have to do a right turn lane, a left turn lane. I don't know what he's going to tell us, but we have to go before him. We can't just go punch an entrance in onto Highway 11 because we want to. So these are all things that are checks and balances that are in place by the federal government, the local government, the city of Chelsea. We'll have to come back to Mr. Hager with a full set of engineer drawings showing how we're going to detain the stormwater. All of these things will be in that. As far as his concerns about septic, this will tie to low pressure sewer, so it'll be part of I think it's called Shelby Utilities now, Shelby Ridge Utilities. So it'll be it'll be sewered property. And I think I've answered everybody's questions, but if I haven't, I'm glad to take more.
Keith, from a public safety standpoint, as far as the housing, the development like that, when it has more than a certain amount of houses, like 30 or so, International Fire Code says they have to have 2 entrances. Is that something that we need to be concerned with on that? And maybe could we?
We would certainly defer to the Chelsea Fire Department. Y'all are part of the plat process, and they'll have to present that to you, including hydrant locations, all those different things. And so that is something that would be during the preliminary plat process. Again, similar to the last case, I believe the question tonight, or the recommendation, is really about lot sizes, number of lots, some of those items. The other items certainly are a concern and will be talked about again in that preliminary plat, but that would come up at the preliminary plat, and it would be reviewed by your office, or Tommy, Mr. King, and he would comment on that. And that's why specifically we put that checks and balances, have you guys sign the plat, because we want the input from the fire code.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
To address Ms. Dobson, when it was 119 houses or whatever, I know that Shelby County required widening of Highway 11 and turn lanes in the center and a right. So that's what he's saying he would have to go check on as far as the traffic goes. But I agree with you. I got teenagers that drive 11 every day. So.
And most likely, it would be the same, even with the half the density, it would still, because of the speed of 11, it would still require right turn lane, left turn lane, widening, just like the previous one. And I think the drive is in a different location.
Slightly different, but again, Shelby County has a minimum number of lots that require that full turn access. And if you wanted to discuss that with them, there's a procedure where you would get a full traffic study and do some of that. But most developers realize that what that traffic study is most likely going to say, and will kind of go with what the county wants. So that would be a requirement during the plat that they have that approval from the county.
We don't have a choice. I mean, we've got to.
And I understand, like, the last version had a little bit of a green space, but this is, my primary complaint with the last version the whole time was that it was clearly streams and wetlands in there, and that was, I knew that was gonna be a challenge, so this one leaves out a lot. And I don't know what the green space is, in comparison to the other one, but you don't have a green space calculation on here, but I think you've got a lot more green than the last version did, for sure.
And I will say, on the last one as well, we required 30-foot, at least 30-foot buffers untouched around the whole thing. And, you know, we're trying to protect how Highway 11 looks. As Mr. Friedman brought up, there's another one down the road that's gonna be doing the same thing. And also Shelby County is, factoring in 25 feet of extra, what do you call it?
Right away.
So you're already aware of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's taken into consideration in this plan.
I can't say that it's taken into consideration on that site plan because it is just a site plan. But obviously, if it does get rezoned, then we get into the nuts and bolts of the full engineering. Our engineers are here and they have to comply with whatever Shelby County requires.
So you may lose lots when that right-of-way line comes in.
What's the current zoning on this?
It is reverted back to AR zoning.
I think it was a PUD,
It was a PRD, PUD is synonym, but once that development was not acted on, ultimately it was decided it was best to go back and start the process over.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Can I ask one more thing?
Sure.
Just real quick, and I'll ask Matthew. So these two proposed lots in between these two green spaces, am I to understand that there's going to be, did you say a 30-foot behind those? What
That
was
was
that?
in the previous plan, was 30.
Oh, okay. But we're not gonna have that now necessarily?
That's what we're gonna push them towards.
Okay.
If it moves forward.
Okay.
And I will say this, a lot of the lots in the previous development were, pretty much a maximum of 95 feet deep. In ours, it's probably gonna be from.
200.
It's, 200 feet deep is some of the deepest lots you have. So it's going from a depth of 95 feet maximum to 140 to 200 feet. So it's a lot deeper lots everywhere throughout the development.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I'll, any other comments or questions from the board? I'll entertain a motion. Anyone want to make a motion to recommend, or make a motion either way?
You gotta ask one more time.
All right, is there, I'm going to ask one more time, is there a motion to be made by the commission? Hearing no motion, I guess we won't take vote and the rezoning doesn't move forward, or can he still take it to the?
It just does not get the recommendation.
It does not get a recommendation. You can still take it to the council and ask for council's vote, but it doesn't get a recommendation or either way from the planning commission. Okay. All right. That was the last item on the agenda. Before we go to the May discussion, I'd like to make a quick statement that I think this is gonna be my last meeting as on the planning commission as chairman for Chelsea. I've done this for 2016, so 10 years, almost 10 years. I've appreciated the opportunity that the city council and the mayor has allowed me to be in this role. Again, it's something as, from a career standpoint, I've done it for almost 30 years as being an engineer. I've spent most of my time on the other side, but the last 10, I've been able to serve the city, and I hope I've made a positive impact with the city, but I really do appreciate all that the city's allowed me to do over the last 10 years. So thank y'all, but this would be my last meeting, because we're moving out of the city, unfortunately, so,
Thank you, Colin.
thank you.
Yeah, on behalf of the city, thank you. You've done a phenomenal job. You've been wonderful to work with. And you're going to be hard to replace, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And hopefully you stay in the city.
Yeah. All right, so you can go to your May meeting and discussion.
Well, our normal meeting falls on Memorial Day, which is a holiday for the city employees will be closed, and we need to see who's gonna be in town for that week, so we can maybe move it to a different day, or what y'all's wishes are.
What do you recommend? You got any recommendations? Does the 18th work?
It would not, because we have court that particular day, and they would have the room tied up. You have graduation the week before.
Do we have anything yet?
I don't.
Well, we'll have the carryover.
That's, voted,
What?
voted, it's the 19th.
That's in the council, isn't it?
Oh, my. Yes. That was a good one.
What about 20?
My suggestion was gonna be the 20th or even the 21st, if that would work for everybody.
School gets out at 1 on the 21st, just to know.
20.
20.
Does that work for everybody? Get out of here.
He's free.
All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor, say aye. Thank you. Thank y'all.